I've got apologies from Jimmy and Ruth tonight. I've got no other apologies, have you? No. Okay. 669 to receive declarations of interest or dispensation for items on the agenda. If the usual suspects could just say that they've got dispensation to discuss the village hall. Yeah. Cyril?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any interest on any items on the agenda this evening? Nope. Okay. 670 to approve the minutes of the meeting of 14th of January. You've all read these and seen them. Are you happy for me to sign these as a true representation of the minutes or the meeting?
Yeah. Yes.
In that case, I will.
Okay.
Okay, 671. I'll try and get my numbers right tonight after last month. Updates and decisions and actions from the previous meeting. I think that you've got a couple, haven't you, Maria?
Yeah, I've got a couple. One is Sarah Lyons from South Cambs wanted to say thank you for helping coordinate the public meeting for the housing development proposals last month, and she'll hopefully be back with more details in one of the forthcoming meetings. Another update.
Sorry, could you speak up, please? I'm not hearing you very well.
Oh, sorry. Okay. One was a thank you from Sarah Lyons from South Cambs, who is heading up the new development up Meldreth Road, the housing development. We helped organise a public meeting for Shepreth last month, and she'll be back hopefully in the next couple of months with more information. Another update is from South Cambs about Philcup Field. They met with Nethy and they have agreed measures to deal with odour control. And this will not change any of the details, but they now agreed to a roof over the area used to store feed for the biodigester and a screen across some of the openable areas. What else have we got? We've received the paperwork for the Collins Close transfer, and that's it.
Yeah, got to go through that paperwork. That's with the solicitors, isn't it?
Yeah, well no, we've got it, we've just got to read through it and sign it.
Okay, fine. Any other updates from any other members of the council, no? Okay. 672, public participation, open to the floor. Sir?
I went to both the presentations down here in the village hall, and the one for the housing, I found it very difficult to get any answers to what benefit it would bring the village. And one or two of the questions I put, they weren't particularly well dealt with, I thought, and I was very surprised that nobody seemed to know much about the sewage situation.
I don't think they knew anything about it until we brought it up.
That's right. Yeah. And they were very vague on the listing of how many people would be locally trying to get to these properties, you know, to live in them. And item 2 is I'd like to endorse Dr. Chris Gray's comments in the Parish magazine concerning the road. I fully endorse everything he says in that.
Okay, sir. I think there's going to be, they're talking about another public meeting, aren't they, on this housing development?
Yes, yeah, they are.
They're going to come back with that, with more details, so they're going to come back with that one. Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Yes.
I'd just like to make the villagers aware that the £50,000 the council are planning to spend is in fact monies which are underspent from being overcharged in the past. For example, the 64% one year. Therefore, it is very worrying the precept is still rising year on year in spite of this large amount in reserve. Surely in this economic climate it would be wiser to keep these funds in hand, as our county council has warned several times that it is possible we may have to pay for services provided by Cambridge County Council. Part of that money was reserved for repairs to the playground equipment, which if you read last year's roster report, they warned a large amount of this equipment will need replacing. Also, several of the allocated reserves have been written off, including funds which should be offered back to this Cambridge County Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Sir?
I'm Stephen Hipkin. I live in Shepreth. I might as well be living in the dark ages as far as the subject of broadband is concerned. The signal that we are getting in Frog End, on average, around about 1 megabyte. I'd like to know what the council proposes to do about it.
Well, we have Sarah Marsh from Connecting Cambridge here at the moment, sir.
Yeah, that's item 673.
It's the next item on the agenda.
Can we talk when she's finished talking? Can we?
You can ask
Speak
me
to
questions.
You can ask
Yes,
questions,
Yes.
Can
as
we
long as we don't go on all night, yeah.
No, I'm happy to answer
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
We're happy to take some questions.
Yeah, of course.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Including with the Wi-Fi broadband.
Shall we come to that when we come to the agenda? Would that be okay? Anybody else? No? Okay. In that case, we'll come on to you. Sarah Marsh from Connecting Cambridge. You can sit there, you can come
I
and
might
sit
come
here.
and sit here, otherwise I've got my
You
back to
can
people.
come and sit here, you can
Is
stand in
that
front of the
okay?
camera, you can... Pardon? Well, the background is the lack of superfast broadband in Frog End. I have to confess, my knowledge of this is very limited, so I'll bow to your superior knowledge on this one and let you talk. Is that okay?
Yep,
Thank you.
good evening everyone. I'd just like to give you a very brief background to the Connecting Cambridgeshire project and what it means for Shepreth and the surrounding villages, and particularly areas like Frog End who have poor connectivity. So the Connecting Cambridgeshire programme, as you're probably all aware, has been rolling out superfast broadband. We awarded a contract to BT a couple of years ago because about a third of the county didn't have access to fibre or superfast broadband. And so what we've been doing is trying to roll out to remedy that using government and county council funding as well as an investment from BT. And inevitably with a big project like this, what we've asked BT to do in the first instance is roll out to as many premises as they possibly can, as economically as they can. And in fact they've now passed 97,000 premises who otherwise wouldn't have had access. I know that doesn't really help people in your position in Frog End, and it's worth me explaining very quickly why there are pockets now of premises who don't have access to superfast broadband. So it's all to do with the fact that the broadband is being rolled out, and it's a fibre broadband network, but the last bit of it goes along the copper that goes from the telephone cabinet, or the fibre cabinet actually now, to your house. And inevitably there's going to be a range of speeds that people get because the fibre goes to the cabinet, but then from the cabinet to your house it follows the copper telephone wire. And the further away from the cabinet that you are connected to you are, the slower your speed is going to be. So people typically living within 1 or 2 kilometres of the cabinet, not the exchange, that used to be the exchange, but now it's the green roadside cabinets, will get pretty good fibre speeds. Anything over 2 kilometres, 2-3 kilometres, and it starts to tail off. Now, what happens is that BT have been going around and looking at where their existing copper cabinets are and putting a new fibre cabinet next to the copper cabinet, which will serve all the premises that are connected to it. And in instances like Frog End, what's happened there is there's a considerable number of houses that are connected to a cabinet that's an awful long way away. So what we are doing is now and it's great because people like you have been telling us where the gaps are, and Susan's been helping enormously actually to identify where the gaps are. So once we are aware of these gaps, we can go back to BT, which is what we're doing now, and say, actually, BT, there's a big group of premises here, they're way too far away from the existing cabinet, please come up with another solution, because we've got, although we've reached the end of the original 2-year rollout, we've actually got an extension programme running now for another 2 years, because we were awarded a little bit more government funding, and we've made some great savings actually. BT have made some savings on what they've rolled out already, and we've said, that's great BT, thank you very much, now use those to sort these problems out. So that's where we are at the moment, and I absolutely feel your pain, I really do. We understand that there are people very unhappy, and even more unhappy now that lots of people around them can get superfast broadband. it just makes it even worse for people.
When I spoke to BT about this, they say they haven't got a clue as to when we'll get proper speeds. And in fact, when I spoke to Connecting Cambridgeshire, I was told you didn't have a clue when it's going to happen.
We don't have a time scale, no.
The best idea was if anybody that was a business down Frog End applied for a grant and saw how much that would, and then we could all club together and pay for the rest. I don't see why we should have to pay.
No, you shouldn't have to pay, and indeed, because you are in what was called our intervention area, you know, we are going to find a solution for you, we jointly with BT. I think at the time, BT were very busy rolling out to as many people as they could possibly roll out to, and we weren't able to take them off the bigger rollout to focus on smaller areas. We're in the position now where we can say to them, hang on a minute, there are these areas now that you need to help us sort out.
So when do you think you'll get them to sort us out? Because this wasn't then that BT was telling me this was just a couple of months ago that BT said this, and in fact your colleague at Connecting Cambridgeshire told me that too.
It does take time. These are not instant solutions. It takes longer than you would, or I would like, to direct, you know, an organisation that's on a complex rollout to focus on individual areas. You know, I think the reassurance I can give you is that you haven't been missed. You are included. We have gone back to BT and said, please plan us a solution for these premises, which is likely to be another cabinet, but it's not as easy as plonking another cabinet there. It's quite a complex job of rerouting your existing lines from cabinets that you're already attached to the new cabinet. So it's slightly more complex than you might think it might be, which means it does take time to plan and implement a solution. So what I would say, and I can't give you a time scale, and I know that doesn't feel very acceptable, but what I would say is in the next 3 to 6 months we should be able to give you a time scale, because they should be able to come back to us and say, this is what we propose, we've modelled it, we've planned it, it's going to cost this much, and we say, great, go ahead and deliver it.
What happens if they say it's going to cost this much and you say, don't?
I mean, it is unlikely that that will happen because of the number of premises you have. So were you to live somewhere very, very remote and be a single house in the middle of, kilometres of field, that might well come back as too expensive. But where you've got, we've looked at Frog End, and there are a considerable number of premises there.
Do we know how many houses?
I think that's...
It's not just houses.
Yes, we do. It's 32. I think it's something like 32.
Premises.
Must be more than that.
And businesses.
It must be more than that.
I've got 32. I've got 32 premises that I've noted down here, but that's, it's difficult for us to know exactly.
Well, don't forget that Frog End was split up by the bypass a number of years ago, and people forget the other half of Frog End, which does include Dunsbridge Turnpike. So your 30 whatever number, I am very sure, is not correct.
We've also got a record of Dunsbridge Turnpike also having poor speeds, and there's at least 16 premises in Dunsbridge Turnpike that we're aware of as well. So, there are more than 32, you're absolutely right, but I've sort of, in my mind, split it up to Frog End and Dunsbridge Turnpike. It is one big problem, you're absolutely right.
The big problem is that your explanation about going on to copper and us in Frog End being on the wrong box, because we've always been on the Melbourne Exchange, which was never a good signal. We were at the very end of the exchange. I started belatedly, I admit, because I was away, contacting Susan when she asked about responses, and I was a bit late getting onto it. But when I did try and look at it, I have to say, your website was less than helpful. I know I have had contact with Noelle, your colleague, and she has said that they are looking at improving the website, thanks to Susan's intervention. I did look at it recently, not very thoroughly, I admit, because I was pressed for time, but there is very little change to it. I can't find actually which box we are connected to. And when I do find it, they're named by location with numbers, but they're not actually, you are not actually told which box you're connected to, or then you're told you're connected to 2 different boxes. And it is not a very, and also initially and still, there is no way of reporting on your website, and this is not just a problem for Frog End, it'll be a problem in other villages. There is no way of reporting, because when you look on the website it nicely says, oh, the whole of Shepreth is now connected. Yes. And there is no way of reporting on the website still that you are not connected.
Susan, sorry.
Could I just add, we've tried and will continue through the parish magazine and every which way we've got locally to give people direct contact. And actually I've noticed, because I've been copied into so much correspondence, that Sarah and Noelle are, these correspondences are going on at 7 in the morning, 11:30 at night. They're relentless. They are this is individual response, and everybody is going to get that kind of attention, and that's how they are building up the picture.
I was very impressed with Noelle's response.
And so, you know, I mean, I think as a local community we've got direct help. Also, I think you've recently, well, it's probably just worth saying that Shepreth and Meldreth, between them, seem to have all the anomalies possible. That's what Noelle was explaining. So Meldreth also has 2 substantial areas with 2 very different problems, and Barrington Road, until recently, had its problem, and that's been solved. So it's solving these complex problems one by one, but I have to say, it's an amazing determination. And I've also been following the story of one very remote property in another parish where there's equal attention being given to try and solve that problem. So working together and providing as much information as we can is definitely the way to go.
Look, I would agree with that, and I think the only comment I would have is, when you have a very big problem, like a third of the county with no superfast, it's almost easier to solve that. Once you've solved the bulk of that, it becomes far, far more difficult, because you know, you've solved the easy problems and you've just got the hard problems left. And not only that, you've got some very unhappy people, as I'm sure you would attest to, because they're surrounded by people who can get super fast broadband and they feel very
distant. We're not trying to do it for social reasons.
No, of course.
I can't get in.
Sorry.
Don't even bother about that.
Right. Sorry, you carry on.
Trying, yes. I've been in touch, as you know, from my last visit here, with people in BT. Now they tell me that you have a continuing phases 8 and 9
we do.
Of the rollout, but I'm also told that he doesn't believe that there are currently any plans within those phases to improve the broadband speeds that we're getting, and we'd be looking at nearer 3 years.
Well,
but I have also, because of all that's been going on and how we are so
neglected still.
Yeah, neglected. I have been investigating, and one of the things I've been investigating, and I know it's on your paperwork, is the air broadband.
Yes.
And what I've found out is that these are people that they're called air broadband, and they have a series of high-powered wireless transmitters on masts that use a much higher powered form of wireless transmitters, which gives a range of around 20 miles. They install a two-way aerial on your house. It's 30 by 10 centimetres, and this gives you super fast broadband straight into your existing router. They can supply if you haven't got one. The installation cost from £149.95. The basic broadband is from £20 a month, and for this you get up to 10 megabytes. Superfast broadband is from £30 a month. For that you get up to 30 megabytes, and business broadband from £65 a month up to 80 megabytes. Downloads 20 megabytes, and 20 megabytes upload. Each of the above also has unlimited downloads, no line rental. Taking the middle price range of £30 a month means you can have up to 20 videos downloading at once. Latency, the ping. Do you all know what ping is? Latency? It's where you get buffering. So if you're on a Skype call, it's buffering. Theirs is very low at 10 milliseconds. It's perfect for video conferencing, FaceTime, Skype and VoIP, internet phone calls. All work very well. Air Broadband have said that they're willing to come and talk to anybody that's interested, providing tea, coffee as well in the village hall at any time that you're interested, if anybody is.
Okay.
Do you know more about
You
Air
meant to
Broadband?
mention-
We do,
Yeah.
you know, there are
They're
a
part
range
on
of,
your thing, aren't they?
there are a range of alternative
Yeah.
providers. Obviously, the contract we've got is with BT, which offers open access, which means that, you know, BT put the network in. It's a bit like putting a railway in and letting anybody run their trains over it, so Talk, Sky, whoever. Air Broadband do provide a service in a number of villages around Cambridgeshire.
Yeah, they've just done Ely, haven't they?
Yeah, and they've been quite useful in sort of helping those people who, in your situation actually, who are perhaps waiting for the rollout to reach them. But there are a number of alternative providers. So there's all Air Broadband, and there are other wireless. I think there's Cams Wireless as well. We try and link to as many that we're aware of as possible.
I mean, this is one I just
and it's
rang.
useful
I found
that you raised it.
And it's, if anybody's interested, it's www.airbroadband, all one word, .co.uk.
They need a certain amount of interest to make
30
it worth
people.
their while. That's right.
30 people, and they'll come and do it.
So it is an
Douglas,
option.
Yeah, I would like to sort of say something. As I understand it, the bulk of people are now covered with Superfast.
Yeah.
There are groups that aren't.
Yes.
Now, you've got the one individual stuck in a field. Now, what's the other end of that, those that aren't getting, is it 60 premises, 70 premises? What's the largest problem that you have of those that haven't been cured?
Well, and when you say 60 premises, you have to think about the geography as well, because you might have very large areas in the Fens, for example, where you might have, it might show up as, you know, Thorny Dyke, you've got 70 premises, but when you actually go and look at it, it's huge. So it does vary.
But what I'm suggesting is, if the top figure is 70, if there's 70 of them who have a problem, they ought to be aware there's 70, and then they can say, well, we ought to be top of the list. But until they know how many have a problem, they can't really bang the drum. They could be 2 or 70. I think it's important to know.
You're absolutely right. So we've gone from sorting out the hundreds to sorting out the
bigger. Well, you say you do know
think,
things.
we think we're reasonable. Well, we think we are. We're probably just calling them separate places.
What's Mildreth Road like?
It's not Mildreth Road,
It's
it's
what-
Mildreth.
What's down there? What's their road like?
This
The road along here. What's it
There's
called?
over 17 houses in Dunsbridge Turnpike.
Yes,
Plus
yeah.
the
Well,
businesses and
I had 16 on my list, but you're absolutely right.
but
It
at
could
the
be
bottom
17.
there are offices.
Yeah.
And Rob Sport is really going mad.
Yeah.
He's a house down our road that he said sometimes he doesn't even get any broadband, and he's running a business.
Yeah.
And you've got rights mowers. I don't know about the nursery.
So
I think here we're talking maybe 40 or 50 premises.
We've got fast broadband download of 35. I was listening to the radio, and somebody who seemed to know what he was talking about had come back from Hong Kong, and he said they got 1,000 there. So I don't know if it's Hong Kong.
Just like more than one, thank you.
Technology is changing.
I'd like more than one.
Yeah, but maybe, well,
technology is changing all the time, and you know
that's a big difference.
We're trying to sort out, you know, the threes and the twos and the ones at the moment. But at the same time as we're doing that, people like BT and Nokia and all sorts of companies are very busy trying to work out how to get to, you know, gigabit networks and faster and faster. So.
Well, someone in Hong Kong seems to have got the answer.
David.
Can I ask you what your interface is as a group with actually BT, not with OpenReach?
Yeah, so BT Group, so as you're aware probably from asking the question, OpenReach are a subsidiary of BT Group. So BT Group, we've contracted with BT Group who use OpenReach to deliver the infrastructure.
So back to the question, what's your particular contact with BT?
So we awarded the contract. BT had to bid for, so you know, we issued a European journal contract notification, and BT were the successful bidders. So they're our suppliers, if you like.
The reason I asked the question is our MP has described what we've got as not fit for service. And when you talk to BT and try to talk to them about the broadband charges that they're giving us, they sort of say, well, you should be getting 3 or something like that. And we say, well, we're not. And there's nowhere to go with that question. Because, you know, we're paying full price service for something our own MPs described as not fit for purpose.
Yeah, and that's not something that we have direct influence to be able to sort out.
That's my question. Can it not be raised with them? Because,
we raise it continually with them, but the team that
brought back to us and Susan.
I'm perfectly happy to come back to another parish council meeting any time, you know, once I've got more to say. But
perhaps
I just wanted to,
in 3 months.
Maybe. Yeah, in 3 months. Yeah.
Come back and report.
That would be. I'd be perfectly happy to do that. And you know, I just want to say I absolutely understand how frustrating it is for you. I understand how frustrating it is to have me sitting here and saying, I'm sorry, I don't have a timescale for you. The only reassurance I'll give you is that, you know, we know about the problem and we are trying to do something about it, and we're working with BT to do that as fast as possible.
Sorry, Matt.
Thank you.
Matt, just one quick question. Are you prioritising according to, are you trying to prioritise any of this according to any set of criteria, such as the number of people affected or where you are in the county, or how concentrated you are, given you were talking about Fenlands areas being hard to connect because of their
I think what we're doing right now is to look at areas that are, you know, reasonable numbers of premises. We're particularly interested where we feel whole communities are in danger of missing out. It's not just 1 or 2 homes on the edge of a cabinet, it's actually significant numbers of people, because, you know, that's really important to the well-being of the community. So
I think you should firm up on numbers there. Significance is a bit wishy-washy.
We do need people to keep getting in touch, because even in the last 2 weeks, I've heard from more people.
We do.
But you do need numbers.
But we do need numbers. We can't solve everybody. You know, one thing I will say, and I'll be very honest here, is we, you know, right now we can't solve everybody's problems. So, you know, the 1 or 2 people. But the good news is that the profits over and above what BT thought they were going to make on what we've already rolled out have been given back to us, or are being given back to us, in order that we can go further. So that's the positive note that I would say, is because there's been really good take-up of the services that have already been rolled out, we're likely to be able to go a bit further, which is good news.
Okay,
just like to point out that Cambridgeshire is made up of many villages who are very similar in formulation to Shepreth, in that they have outlying parts.
Yes.
And I'm sure Shepreth is not the only village with this problem.
No, it's not.
The irony is that 2 of our children live in the Fens, and they can get super fast broadband.
Yes, and in fact the problem in the Fens was less than the problem in South Cambridgeshire, funnily enough. So South Cambridgeshire, because of the nature of the little villages, had a bigger problem.
Sarah, thank you. And you will, if you've got any news, you can report back to us, and then Maria can get it out, and Susan and everything. I'd like to thank you very much for attending.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're free to go now.
Thank you so much.
Or you can sit through the rest of it.
Try not to end up in the Zumba class.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right, 674, to receive reports and updates from county and district councillors, ladies.
Okay.
Philippa, are you on first?
I think I am.
Okay.
Mine is... Oh, let me get through. Okay. A couple of people in the last month have asked me about Philcup Field. I can't say I've got very much to say. I emailed and I did try and telephone a couple of times, didn't get through. The applicant, Tom Naylor, who you recall came to the meeting about the development at Philcup Field, he just emailed saying that he's working hard on the project. I think Maria has a little bit more to add to that. Maria?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier that they've agreed measures for the odour control. And they may now agree to a roof over the area used to store feed for the biodigester, and a screen across some of the openable areas to help ensure it won't be a problem. However, they still need to agree the actual details. That's the update from John Fresh of South
Okay, so
Cambs. It's ongoing.
Yeah,
I think,
so
still.
the applicant then is still talking to the planning
Yes, yeah, they are.
department at South Cambs.
Working through the conditions.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, very briefly on shared services, I've talked about this before. South Cambs District Council is trying, as cost-cutting exercise, to explore sharing services with neighbouring councils. That process is continuing, and I will update you. It shouldn't really make any difference to us having our dealings with our own council, but you may find that with sharing skills and everything, you might be speaking, for example, to somebody in Huntingdon. I don't really know how this is going to work, but we will still have our own South Cambs District Council, however many partnerships they enter into with neighbouring councils. It's not always the same neighbouring council in any given with any given department. More misery on the local plan. So the local plan is our development plan in South Cambs. At the moment it's suspended pending an inspection by the planning inspector. We've now had a schedule published for considering the revised local plan which South Cambs has produced. Hearings will not resume until June 2016. There will then be several weeks of hearings in blocks of weeks with gaps between, which will push the active stage of the inspection well into next year. The inspector will then adjourn for deliberations, so we could be looking towards the back end of 2017 before a decision is reached. I've entitled this scrutiny, but it's really about the call centre and about how things are actually. This is a good news story. Hooray! The call centre, or rather the contact centre, which is what I'm supposed to call it, at South Cambs is apparently performing a lot better. I hope you're finding that. It means that calls are actually being answered more regularly, and waiting times for calls to be answered are down. The council is still trying to direct customers to use its digital by default service. So they're hoping that residents will use the council website to see if they can find the information they seek rather than telephone or visit the Camborne office. I know that this puts people without a computer or access to a computer at a considerable disadvantage. I also discovered in the scrutiny committee that the council has a new programme called its commercialisation programme, yet another way of trying to maximise revenues at the council. Given the financial challenges facing council budgets, this is a welcome strategy. More planning. Just to say, we haven't had any big solar applications in Shepreth, but that doesn't mean that they're not still coming through, despite the tariff really being reduced. So I sat as a sub on planning committee last Wednesday, and there was an application for a massive 50 megawatt solar farm on land north of the A428, so just above Camborne. As you will have seen around South Cambs, a lot of solar farms have been sited on agricultural land. And now the government has published some guidance to try and discourage the siting of these big solar farms on what is called best and most valuable land. So this was the first such application coming before the planning committee after the issue of this guidance, and it was unanimously refused. So it may be that the tide is turning against these big solar farms. Who knows? And who knows whether that application will be appealed. You asked me to comment on the frequently asked questions about neighbourhood plans.
Oh, that's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda later.
Can you save that?
No, because I'm going home. Can I report on it now, or did you need to discuss it?
Well, not really, because it messes up my numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tony.
Just say what's the next
All right.
number.
680, 680, item 680.
Right, this is a document that was issued last month called Strategic Policies Consultation Frequently Asked Questions and Map Doc.
So, I think it has, from having read it again, and it is a pretty turgid little document, what it means is that if you get together as a village and draw up a neighbourhood plan, you have to adhere to planning policies. And there are numerous planning strategic policies, and I think the only way you can be sure that you observe them properly is by doing your neighbourhood plan hand in hand with the planning department at South Cambs.
And the inspector, I hope.
Yeah. Yes, yes, exactly. So, for example, one of the things that is frequently asked is, can a village provide for less development than its allocation in planning terms is, or how many houses have already been given planning permission for? And no, you can't. You can't do that. You can ask for more development. There's nothing to stop you doing that, as long as it equally falls within planning frameworks and your designation as a village. All right. So in some respects your hands are tied. That's not to say that doing a neighbourhood plan is necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Last but not least, we do have a new Gypsy and Traveller officer at South Cambs, Stephanie Kutch. I know it has less relevance to Shepreth, but just to say that at the moment the district is carrying out a district-wide assessment of travellers' accommodation requirements, and we will find out what the level of demand currently is in the traveller community. Something that I have a confession to make, which is that I've forgotten the boards for the housing development. But I can go home and fetch them now, if anybody wanted to see them this evening. I went home from
we've got one in the cupboard.
Oh, have you? You've got a set?
No, they've all been on display. We've got one in the cupboard.
You've had them? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the extra set then.
Phew.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Philippa.
Thank you.
Can I just, at this point, I've just literally had a text message and I've got alarms going off at show houses. Could I hand over to my vice chairman while I just go and make a telephone call, because I've got somebody going into a bit of a state of panic. Susan, yeah, sorry. I do apologise.
That's fine, yeah.
Hi. Right, so, oh, I've just lost it. Sorry. Right. Okay, so the first, I've got quite a few items, I'm afraid. The first one is a question for the parish council, which has to do with the county council setting up the budget next week. Those of you who attend all the time will know that the county council is making cataclysmic cuts. Everything that it is not legally required to do is up for cuts, and it's amazing how many things the county council does beyond its legal requirements. So some very important services are at risk. The reason for this is, in addition to population growth and inflation, the government, the Chancellor is phasing out what's called revenue support grant to councils all over the country. So this has always been the main piece of our budget, and it will completely disappear, and it's in the process of disappearing. So we're going through this terrible process. Over 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, 79% of council budgets will have been cut. So that's what we're dealing with. This year, and we also have our council tax is capped at 2%, and we can't make up the difference. This year, the Chancellor, who does control what we do financially, has given us the option, all councils, the option to raise an extra 2% simply for social care. This would bring 4.8 million to the council. However, the Children, Families and Adults Department, which deals with social care, has to make £31 million in cuts this year. So 4.8 million is very nice, it's a lot of money, but that's against £31 million. That's the context. Most councils in the country are going to raise that extra 2%. It's going to be an additional 2% on our council tax. And I've been asking every parish council if they would be willing to write to councillors, and I can give you the bog standard address, to encourage us to make that rise next week. Cambridgeshire the councillors have not reached consensus, and it would be good if that happened, in my view. Melbourne and Foxton have done this, and a number of residents have done this individually. And then on the basis of, so I'll leave that with you. It would need to be very soon because the council meeting is next week, next Tuesday. I'll give you one small example that has arisen from casework. So the council currently subsidises a number of transport journeys which it doesn't have to do, including people who are blind can use their bus pass before 9:30 in the morning for whatever purpose, and people who use Dial-A-Ride, which is a community transport service which specifically caters to people with disabilities and wheelchair access, they can currently get a 50% discount on their community transport ride by presenting their bus pass. That isn't legally required, so to save £120,000, it is proposed that that has to go, which is completely appalling for obvious reasons. And just for information, the council is required to fund the National Bus Pass scheme. So anybody who's entitled to a bus pass can use it on any journey they're entitled to use it on. And the bill for the council is £5 million a year. And these are mostly journeys on commercial routes. So not the buses that aren't very full in remote areas, the ones that are the last bus for a particular community, but the guided bus between Cambridge and St. Ives, you know, the really strong journeys that are going to be commercially viable anyway. And that's the way the law works. So that's a £5 million reimbursement that the council must make to the bus companies. And meanwhile, it has to cut £120,000 to save bus pass use for people who are blind or visually impaired and people who are disabled. I don't know if the 2% in social care rise would allow us to prevent that cut, but I would certainly be arguing for it. You know, we have a bulk buying oil club, I think. I hope you know. If you're on oil and you don't have mains gas, you can join the Melbourne Division Oil Club and you get a discount. There's no fee and you can just do it once if you want. And we get a small rebate every year depending on how many people are using it. We always try to highlight a particular community effort or scheme, and I think this year we're going to give it to Campsite specifically for transport purposes on community transported buses. It's only £115, but it will give them some publicity. You've heard of the city deal, I think. Some of you have heard of the city deal. So the city deal is incredibly complicated and messy and bureaucratic, but it's trying to do some good things, and it's very challenging because it's meant to improve transport infrastructure in the face of big population growth, and problems are very difficult to solve. But a couple of the things it's now consulting on include a new park and ride facility at Trumpington and a new park and cycle facility at Barton. If you would like to respond, there is a consultation happening right now, and this is something that has generated a lot of public participation. I did discover, however, that the consultation letters haven't been coming out to Shepreth or any of the villages down here because we're considered too far away. However, we are the people who would use those facilities, even if they aren't going to be built where we live. So I would encourage you to take part. The Frog End Junction scheme had very good attendance. I was here for part of it, but not all of it. And I wanted to thank everyone who's written in afterward who couldn't attend. And very similar to the broadband scheme, the officers are working very hard to respond to individual comments. I think it's likely that the scheme will go ahead because, and I'm trying to write an article for the Shepreth Parish newsletter, which I can tell you is very difficult to write. I know there's a lot of sentiment of concern about it, and there's also a lot of support for it. But as I'm trying to explain in the article, the road safety team actually doesn't have to come out and talk to us. They have the authority where road safety is concerned to just get on with it. But the premise is that if comments and information arises while they're out talking to us that change their analysis of whether the scheme will reduce serious injury and fatalities, then something has to change. So I haven't sat down with them to look at all the responses, but at the moment they say they haven't seen anything that would change their mind. So I'm really sorry if that's the way it's going to go for those of you who are concerned, and I realize it's a very emotive subject. I did want to explain that road safety allocates funding only on the basis of accidents. So it's not necessarily what we want for the A10. That would come out of another budget because that's how councils work. So growth and transport infrastructure, we could argue that when, and I'm going to put this in my article for the newsletter, if Foxton Level Crossing were to close and we would get an underpass or flyover, my feeling is that we should have something to halt traffic south of the crossing somewhere to create windows of opportunity. And I don't want to be a traffic engineer, but I guess the point is that is going to create a lot of problems, and it's going to exacerbate problems we have now. So I think we have to get that point across. It doesn't go to the road safety team because it isn't about an accident record, it's about the future. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm almost done. The boundary review, I think some of you will know, was the Boundary Commission, which is a non-elected body, has now published new county division boundaries that will take effect from next year. So Shepreth is going to find itself in a very new division. It's going to be part of the Duxford division. It's going to be connected, and somebody's been sitting at a computer and deciding what's best for South Cambs. That's really what it looks like. Shepreth, Foxton, Falmere, Triplow, Whittlesford, Hayden, Great and Little Chisel.
So the exact opposite of what we want.
Whittlesford, sorry to say Whittlesford, but then also Hingston, Ickleton, and Pampersford.
It's a bit random, isn't it?
So I don't know how much it is nonsensical, and I know that there have been representations back to the Boundary Commission, and what they've said in their final report is we have had 2 representations concerning Shepreth, which isn't really true because they had some from Meldreth concerning Shepreth. And they didn't mention the fact that removing or dividing communities around schools, for example, is silly because that's how you build, that's one good way of building a community. The other thing that's missing is common sense around transport corridors. So, and we have to work more and more together as villages to pay for things and get things done, and this kind of obliterates that effort. Meldreth will go with Melbourne, Wadden, Neesworth and Bassingbourne. it has 2 village colleges and only 3 primary schools, whereas the other patch has something like 7 primary schools and no village colleges. So I think it's crazy. Okay, nearly done. I think have I asked you if you would sign a rail partnership just for Shepreth? I'm trying to get some more money for the Meldreth, Shepreth and Foxville. Okay, so that's coming?
We haven't received it.
Okay, I just need to make sure I've asked you and you're happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. We have, we're going to be able to apply for about a small amount of the station, but we might as well do it. The station telephone box is going to be removed. I saw a sign on it. I don't know if anybody else saw it. It says this is not being used. We're going to remove it. Oh yeah, and the Rail Use Group, the Cycling Campaign and MAID, that's Melbourne Area Youth Development, have put together a program called the Bike Bank, which is bicycle maintenance course for young people. This half term, it's free. It's at a bicycle maintenance workshop in Cambridge. They get employable skills, they get directed to apprenticeships. The police have provided free bicycles from their store of unclaimed stolen bikes, and Great Northern, the rail company, is providing free travel passes for these young people. There are 2 groups of younger teens and older teens, and they're going to do 2 separate groups. Sorry it was so long.
Thank you, Susan.
Does that mean we're going to lose Philip if we join Duxford?
We're going to lose you?
No, Susan's talking about the county boundaries.
Yeah, this is yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Sorry, I had to nip out. If anybody gets offered so many undersized showroom furniture, can they let me know? Right, okay. 675 reports. We haven't got a rec warden tonight, so Jimmy, and you're going to do the village hall. Is that correct, Douglas?
Yes. Happy to do that. We had a meeting on Monday. A couple of things to report. These pictures of old Shepreth have gone up on the wall, which is very nice. We've also chosen some curtains. Great deliberation between medium blue or dark blue. 4 men were there, no women that evening, so we only took half an hour to decide. The other thing is, last parish meeting there was talk of a light at the end of the village hall to help people find their cars at night. There's already a light there, and we've approached an electrician, and he's going to illuminate the clock at the front and put a PIR on that particular lamp, so that it will only come on when there's movement, so people will be able to get to their cars. That's going to cost 220 quid if the parish would like to contribute to some of that. I don't know what the split is, I can find out. But at that price, we're getting both done. I've told them to do it.
I'm sure it'll come under your remit, and we can, if you give us a split on that, we'll sort it out. Okay. Thank you, Douglas. Okay, finance and payments. We've only got 2 tonight, minus VAT, clerk's salary, working from home and expenses £439.13, and Hearts and Cams, recreation ground £80. So we're going to have a proposer for those and a seconder. Those in favour? Okay, and you'll get those entered up onto the necessary, and we'll do that. Okay, clerk's report, 677.
The main sort of items were minutes, agendas, various notices, responding to inquiries, organising meetings, liaising with South Cams, website updates, PAYE, invoices, accounts, investigating the recreation ground access road, pensions, car park lighting. That's the main bits.
We don't have to provide a pension, do we?
No, you don't, because the clerk earns less. But there's a thing called automatic enrolment, which I sent to everybody.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions? No.
Any questions of the clerk?
We've just got to comply with certain conditions in a certain time frame, but that's fine.
Okay. Right, 6, 7, 8, co-option of a parish councillor. Despite last month having it on the website, in the newsletter, on all the notice boards, and mail dropped through the houses in Shepreth, we had no applicants for a parish councillor.
No, so...
So while we've got an audience tonight,
Yeah.
if anybody fancies becoming a parish councillor, there is a vacancy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it then. Why not?
Oh, there you go. We've got one.
We've got a bit of youth.
We've got a bit of youth. We
the
have
average
to.
age.
You have
Well, it's
to
plummeted.
fill out the necessary paperwork to do the co-option next month.
No, that's spot on, I love his paperwork.
Excellent.
It's a future Prime Minister now.
Excellent.
Anybody else then?
The whole point of that was to make you feel guilty.
No, I know it was.
No, I
know
think
it was.
it's still
planned from the beginning.
That's good. We need somebody young on here.
thrusting.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, 6, 7, 9, Douglas. This is one you want running, which is finance for the village
Oh,
hall.
I'm not going to say anything, nothing's changed.
Okay, fine. Neighbourhood planning, we know, Philippa ran through that.
Yeah.
Okay. 681 new projects. This is where we asked for members of the public to write in. We had 2 people writing.
Today, yes, yeah.
So we've received 2 suggestions. And it was any other suggestions that people have got, and then we can sort of look at them, find out some costings, etc., etc.
Sorry, there was 3 because there was a phone call.
3, sorry. Okay, I do apologise.
No, no.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not, it's not the same item.
So, what were the suggestions?
The suggestions, one was we advertised some of the suggestions in the newsletter, which were improvements to the village hall, playground equipment, defibrillator. I think they were the 3 things that we said, up for discussion. And then one lady phoned in and said she was quite keen on the defibrillator. And then the ones that we said were playground equipment was quite a key one. Another lady suggested some other items, but they're more to do with the county council than these ones here.
These were pathways and traffic calming, which isn't really our remit, to be honest with you, so we'll pass that on to the county council.
And one of the parish councillors, Ruth, who's not here today, she suggested putting a little bit of money, obviously not significant amounts, towards litter picking equipment. So, but that's all, yeah.
Yes.
It's just that, you know, we have a defib at the park that we've been more than happy to for television access if you want to make that away.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
good.
that you don't waste money on
Thank
that.
goodness. Thank goodness.
Whereabouts?
It's in our first aid room. So, and the majority of staff have training, but you know, with these defibs you can, it's self-taught, it explains as you need to.
Brilliant.
Okay.
So that leaves...
Yeah, because one of the parish councils were saying that they might offer some CPR trainings. We could offer that in the village hall for anyone who wants to come along as well.
Yeah, so it's
Sort of
just, you have to
first aid
access the wildlife park for it, but it's the first aid room's at the entrance.
And would that be open all the time though?
There, we have the flippers on site,
Right.
it's beyond the perimeter, and it's a locked building obviously. I think if you're thinking out of hours,
Yes, yeah, it was.
you could always give my mobile number out with it, and then I can contact, because the park is always manned 24 hours anyway.
Right.
Can I email you and find out a bit more? Thank you. Yeah. Find out a bit more.
Right, sorry David, yes.
Yes, just a question. Are we talking here about the £50,000 in the
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to propose that as the precept is underspent by that amount, in point of fact it's a village tax which people understand probably better than precept, I suggest that the council gives the precept payers, us, a holiday for the next one.
Okay.
16-17.
That could be a proposal if you want.
The other proposal is some sort of support towards the broadband situation.
That could be a proposal as well.
Well, for anybody in Shepreth who suffers.
But everybody else.
Frog end,
Frog
yes.
end, okay.
Yeah. Susan, sorry.
Well,
I don't know if it's appropriate or not to make a suggestion, but I made the suggestion in Meldreth where they also have a SUM, which is community transport along the earlier lines, not just for people who are affected by that particular cut, but because the community transport providers themselves are going to have a financial problem once that SUM is removed.
Okay, right, so what have we got? We've got playground equipment, defibrillator,
Hopefully that will be with me.
support for broadband, precept holiday, village hall.
Yeah, support village hall.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Have we had any specific requests on playground equipment?
Yeah, I put zip wire.
Yes.
All the zip wire.
Okay.
What happened to the last one? What was the point in all that last sort
Last
of
what?
village hall
We
thing
had
that we did
meeting
and we all
Right, the
met
situation
here?
was there that I was on that committee. That was something that was launched by Jenny Ravenhill and Donna Thomas and Charles Cook. I got involved in that as I just joined the council. They had some rough sketches put together with Playdale and people like that for the recreation ground and the old school field.
Yeah.
The costing on those was coming out to about £150,000 per. It did. I've got it. At
Well, there's
home.
no need. Whatever that is ridiculous.
Come out of that.
You can get some new play equipment.
That's it. What can you get for £50,000?
But can I just,
You
sorry,
don't
just-
even need 50,000.
Sorry, you just asked the question. I was going to. I'll tell you what happened. Yeah.
Well, I
Okay,
went to
right,
every
right.
single meeting, and the plans were ridiculous. I mean, they were talking about huge play areas.
Absolutely, yeah.
Massive, 2 different areas.
absolutely.
Kids don't need that. They need something simple, but they need
Well,
something.
I think you should be more specific.
What they
to
need.
help. Yeah, yeah.
I can choose you a couple of play pieces
You
easily.
have to be a bit more specific. For
Well,
me.
I can be as specific as you
I don't know
want.
what pieces are. No, I'm not trying to be facetious.
Surely
I need
you say
to know
you spend that
what.
money on that.
Okay, you
and
tell me
then
how
we'll
much
spend
something
that
is,
money.
and I will choose something.
Well,
Yeah.
put it the other way round. You tell us what you want first.
Just a nice new park for the children to play on.
A nice new what?
Park.
A something
Just
for
some
the children.
equipment. Who know? I don't know what equipment costs.
Okay, we promised a BMX track at that new development. That didn't happen.
The BMX track was, we did a complete circulation around the village for volunteers. I think we had 2 lads turn up who said that it was too small. We then looked at BMX tracks and it was way too small to do. We looked for volunteers and we asked for volunteers to, if they wanted to come on there, to move the dirt around, make a BMX track and everything. We had nobody come forward at all. So then, what would you say?
What people expected is I was there at the meeting, weren't we? And it all,
Yeah.
and it kind of went. People got
Okay,
the wrong
so we
idea from a
had
bit.
nobody from the village came forward at all to help, and nobody wanted to do it. So at the end, we flattened the soil and grassed it over.
Right, so
I
what is there
can't
for our
change
children
past.
to do?
I
There was
think you should
talk
come
of
up
there was
with
talk
ideas
of
of what you
tennis courts at one point. What happened to that?
Nothing's happened.
I don't
You're
know.
quite right, nothing's happened. Now that we're asking for suggestions of what we'd like to see.
Well, this lady would like to see a playground.
I would like to see something for the children.
Would you like to put together? Would you like to put together what you would like to see?
We don't
and
even
then
need the
come
whole
to us?
50 grand. I mean,
No,
just
no,
a
no,
small
that-
portion.
If you're specific about what you would like to see and let us know, then we can look into it.
But I have no idea of cost of play equipment. That's why we went to all these meetings
Well, all right,
beforehand. There's
ignore
a
that,
company
but just come up with what you want, and we'll worry about the money.
the cost of
A
play
safe
equipment.
slide, a
A
slide that you're not going
slide.
to worry that your children are going to topple off backwards.
Okay.
Right, so a slide. Okay.
That's good.
That's fine. We're
Right,
getting
okay,
there.
we're
What about a
specific, are
zip
we?
wire we were thinking?
A zip wire.
But didn't you say that that then costs a lot of money to maintain?
Zip wire is
Every
about
year?
£6,000 to install.
No, she said a slide, to be fair.
No, but in terms of the zip wire, I thought last time we didn't do
No,
it
that's
like
a
that
lot of money.
because it was a
No,
maintenance.
no.
Right, okay, yeah, they'll have a zip wire.
Well, we can
Have
look
a
at the zip
roundabout,
wire,
they'll have
we can look at the
seesaw,
slide.
You know, it's
How much is a
I
ramp
don't
for
know either, but
skateboarding?
you must.
You know, just a couple
All I'm
of
saying
things
is
for
come up with
different
some
age
ideas, and then we look
range.
at
Hold on, can we just not cross talk each other? Sorry.
I know what you're saying. You want specifics.
Yeah, absolutely. This
When
is what
do you
we're
want
asking
it by?
for.
Okay.
Well, let us
Now,
know ASAP.
tomorrow.
Yeah, if you email the clerk with what you think you'd like to see,
We can get some
then we can
quotes
look
and
into
then
the
we can
costing of it. That's the
decide.
whole point of asking what
Yeah.
people want. You know, the whole point of putting this in the newsletter and publishing it was the fact that, look, we've got some money, we're not just going to spend it willy-nilly without what the villagers want to see. This is why we've asked people to write in, contact us and let us know what they want to see.
Sorry, what was that?
And then what, does it go to a vote?
At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it would be a vote by the parish council as to what they, you know, like everything, it's a democratic business.
Not me.
Absolutely, but there's nothing to stop. There's a vacancy on the parish council, so if you want to stand for co-option, you can come onto the parish council and have a vote. Absolutely, no problem.
So it's as simple as that. You sit there and you get, right, okay, we'll do this then.
No, you co-op, we co-opt, you stand for the parish council, we co-opt, you come onto the parish council, you then have a vote.
You've got a vote.
You've got one of 7. There's 7 of us, or 6 at the moment. There's 7 of us.
2 aren't here today.
So there is 7 votes.
Go for it.
So go for it.
And will any of you vote for play equipment? Because you don't look to me like you've got children in the village.
I've had children, my children were brought up in the village.
I wouldn't be asking what you want if I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah. The whole point
Otherwise
of what
I'd
we're
be
trying to
going,
do is provide things for the village, be it children, older people, whatever.
We'd
You know?
always suggested playground equipment as one of the
significant is this money hasn't been spent.
For ages.
It's still there. It's not been wasted. It's still sat there. So we're just asking the question that hasn't been asked for a number of years.
Yeah.
So
you let us know what you want to see, and we'll look into seeing whether we can provide it. That's the whole point of what we're here for. Sir,
I just asked whether it's usual practice for the parish council to come up with some kind of proposal. I mean, we don't seem to be at that stage yet. We're trying to figure out what most people would like to see.
I think what we're looking for is what the majority of people would like to see.
But if there is a surge of public opinion which suggests we really are in dire need of some kind of play equipment,
then
that is then when we would come back in a month, 2 months' time with a definite proposal of you can have this or this or this. And if that's the way that we're moving forward, then
But the whole purpose of why we've done this is actually to get this. Rather than us sit round a table and decide what we think, you know, we want to listen to what you think, and then we'll see if we can put it together. You know, it's not what we think, it's what you guys want. So you tell us what you want, we'll see whether we can get it and whether we've got the money. There's only limited funds, obviously.
Exactly, so if we suggest things and therefore it's too much money, then, you know, you're going to say, no, we can't do it.
We only spend what we've got.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm willing to say we'll have anything. You know, literally anything that you can afford. You can money right.
First and foremost, I'd like a slide. Yeah. Secondly, I'd like a zip line. Thirdly, and they'll go right.
Absolutely.
You can have this, and this, or you can only have
We'll
that.
That's what exactly we just said.
Do that. Give a list of choices.
So that would be the next thing. If we say where do we want it, where do you want it? Do we want it here or do we want it there? It's not down to us. We'll listen to what you want.
They've got now.
The whole point is we want to know what you want, and then we'll see if we can provide it. Rather than us just sit here and decide we'll spend this on this, what do you guys want?
And what happened to, I remember last time you talked about we had to raise a certain amount in order to
what we
get
were trying to
grant
do
and
there,
then
we were
top it
trying
up
to do
for
some
a
match funding.
Could we not use that money for
It's
this?
really, we never got any match funding. You can try again, but it is horrendously complicated and difficult, and there isn't any money about.
We can look into it, I wouldn't say no, once we know exactly what we want.
Susan, sorry.
Well, I do support I don't have children in the village anymore, but we have grown up here. But I do support the playground idea. But I also would like to say that I do support Susan.
Sorry, I can't hear people talking. Sorry, can you just... Sorry.
I do support the playground idea, equipment idea, in that we have had children grown up in this village. But I also would like to support the other end of the age scale, which tends to be where the community support transport comes into. Yes, Cyril. And I'm just going to ask, you have this money, I appreciate you want some offers. Does it have to be entirely spent on one thing?
No.
Can it be split?
We can split it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways.
It's worth noting we have the money.
It's the village's money. It's not our money. It's your money.
And it's also not been spent. It's sat there. It's not been wasted.
Now you might think I would support the suggestion of broadband improvement, which I would, but I do think I am not a selfish person, and I do think of other people as well.
We must think village as opposed to service.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're providing. I think we're providing services for the village. But
this is my point. I'm aware of the young people and the old people.
Okay, Susan, sorry.
I just wanted to say, for the playground, there are a couple of groups of parents in Melbourne is one where they've gone through this process really successfully.
Yeah, I know. Every other village has managed it apart from here.
Okay, I mean, I'd be happy to work with you. And I represent Melbourne also.
Oh no, I know parents that have done their own, yeah.
Okay, but it's just that there's always good advice, and what they did is, after they applied for some funding, they had a whole bunch of different pots that they went for, and one of them was the parish council. And against the odds, there is actually some money out there.
Look, we don't need a massive thing, we just
But that was done by the parents as opposed to the parish council, was that right?
I'll speak to other parents about how much certain things cost, so I've got some idea
But that,
of what.
Anyway, if you want any help, I'd be glad.
that was done by the parents who approached the parish council, is that
It was
correct?
done by a group of parents whose specific aspiration was to create a playground.
Right.
And
the parish council supported them.
they went to the parish council and
they got
Amongst other
lots of
people.
funding, there was all kinds of different,
Excellent, fine. Good, yeah, I hope they do it. So, any other suggestions? Right, so what have we got to look at?
Well, we've got the holiday for the precept, supporting the broadband, community transport, supporting the village hall.
So when you're talking about holiday for the precept, David, you're talking a total year off, which is going to save each household what?
He didn't say that.
It's not a lot, is it?
About £50.
Yeah, it's about £50 a year.
Well, when Charles was here, Charles planned
I think you
it.
meant 1 year or 7.
Yeah, you mean...
One.
Or 6 months.
Okay, fine, that's all right, carry on.
12 months, 1 year holiday.
Which was
Yeah.
quite key.
But just to say to you
that's it, they're the
£50
key,
a house.
they're the key
Well,
ones.
some people would be.
Is that £1 a week?
Yeah,
Some
some
people
people
that's
Right.
such a shame.
So it's the playground equipment and community transport which seem to be the most...
So it's the playground equipment and community transport that are sort of coming out on top.
Today,
Yeah.
which are coming out on top.
Okay, fine. So we can start to make some investigations. If anybody has got, if you want to be specific,
I think they're going to come up with suggestions.
yep, if you come up with suggestions and get it to Maria, then that's absolutely fine. We can put it on the table and we can look at it. Is that okay? But I think we're getting a rough idea of what people
And I think
would
they
like
should
to
come
see.
back again and talk about it.
Absolutely, 100%.
Kick it around.
Because if it can be agreed in the next couple of weeks, it can be installed
Absolutely.
by the summer.
Yeah.
before the summer.
Get it in.
Because once it's agreed, we get them in.
So anything else, Cyril? Have you got any other suggestions that the people have offered you?
No, you mean on playground equipment?
No, on
On any-
50,000.
spend the money.
Mr. Hanford,
No.
Douglas.
No, I'm glad people have said what they want.
So
I wanted to hear.
Absolutely, 100%. Excellent. Right, okay, we'll move on then. Right, 682, Flood Avoidance Advisory Committee. Maria.
Now this came up from the last meeting. A member of the public was concerned about the ditches and the drainage, so I propose that we set up an advisory committee which has parish councillors on it and members of the public. Susan said she would help with this a little bit. And they've got a similar group in Melbourne which will help, I can't say the word, riparian owners with their responsibilities. That word.
Fishy,
Yeah.
Melchor.
Melchor, sorry.
So we'll set that up, and that has to be just one parish councillor and then any volunteers, or what?
It's very practical working party that goes around, you know, and yes, it can be just one parish councillor, and you can take the template that Melchor has set up, and it keeps the highways, flooding, drainage people more up to date with whatever drainage issues you might have.
Richard.
For Shep.
Yeah.
Is it worth contacting them?
Yeah.
For Shep,
Because it may be sort of one and the same, really.
Yes, okay.
So you'll
That's fine, yeah.
spring into action on that, yeah?
Yeah, we'll start. I think we're also maybe going to arrange a meeting with the new
I was going to ask the new highways drainage guy to come out and see some of the areas we're worried about.
Yes, yeah. Okay, well I'll contact Forshap and the gentleman.
Angle Lane.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If I could just say something now. Yesterday, all day, there were some men here, 2 men, who come from a long way with a van. It was in Angle Lane yesterday morning at 7 o'clock. I was a bit inquisitive what they're doing, sitting out there drinking tea, but they come to check the Shepreth sewer.
Oh right.
Not Sabrina.
Not Sabrina.
No, and they spent the whole day here, and they had some very upmarket equipment in the van, which they put. They lifted up every hole in the village, went all the way round. They was here until about 6 o'clock last night, and they had this sort of yellow pipe about as big as this pen inside the van, and this went up there, and there's all gauges in the van that was telling you what was wrong and why it was blocked up and what they're going to do and everything.
Oh,
and I did guide them down to our favourite spot.
Yep.
And they agreed that the pump wasn't useless.
Okay.
And they would make sure that there was a new bigger one came. But he said really the pipes in the village want making bigger, but he said I don't think that will ever happen.
Well, it'll be interesting with proposed developments, what they're going to do.
Yes, I mean they were pretty serious, and they've got some pretty serious tapping.
Good. Okay. Good. Excellent. Okay.
We're all done.
Right. Okay. Excellent. 683. This is correspondence we've received from Willis Mill with regard to the driveway that runs up the side of the recreation ground, which we own, requiring some maintenance. And Rebecca, do you want to tell us?
Yeah, so the potholes always come back and we're always filling them in. But the recent problem is that there's lots of parking going on along the grass verge. So all the traffic is now being pushed to the right side, so it's created like a gully. And we're getting lots of complaints from contractors, visitors, etc. about the quite huge potholes that are created.
On the grass?
No, it's on the, because everyone's forced now just to drive up and down the one side, whereas before you could, because you could pass now, but you've got a row of cars.
Now, because our village station car park has been made smaller for some reason or other from what it was before, and there is definitely lines, so people sort of, the first people go in the lines and people are stopping on the end. There is now 2 cars every day outside the old tavern. There is cars in, what's that place opposite?
Grants?
Pardon?
No, not Grants.
Dockers, there's cars going there, and now if they go in there now,
so you think it's commuters' cars?
You think it's a station?
Right.
But, oh yeah, no doubt about it. And the station can't do anything about it because they're taken up half the car park for bikes, and the other half has got these stupid lines everywhere, and there's 11 car park spaces now where there used to be 21.
Oh gosh, really?
Yes.
Gosh, that is bad.
Oh, Susan.
Sorry, Susan.
The train company believes that the station car park is being used for non-train commuting. And so at the Rail User Group we've been working to try and communicate with the businesses where we think the parking is taking place. So maybe it'd be useful to collaborate together on
So we need to find out where these cars are coming from to start with, and then stop them parking there.
We didn't want to do anything without speaking to you first, because obviously we knew.
So what do you want to do? Just, I mean,
No, that's why we wanted to talk to you about. There's that, and then there's the fact that there are. Has anyone been over to see the drive? Yeah, Did you see the big ones?
It's turned up on the grass, so
yeah,
that's not just
over.
a bit of sort of the odd car. That suggests that it's the same as what you said. That's people regularly parking it. It's being flagged by.
Why don't we just have some no parking signs up there to stop the parking to start with?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted to come and discuss with you, what the solution was. Yeah.
Well, what do you want?
To stop people parking, because I do believe if you tried to get a fire engine down there, I don't think you would. Where the cars would be.
So we need to get some no parking
So
signs.
no parking signs, yeah, and then can we discuss the potholes? I mean, I don't know what the situation there is, funding wise.
Well, our understanding is, and we're looking into this at the moment, is that when we purchased the recreation ground, we brought the road, but we weren't responsible for maintenance of the road. And we're just checking that with our solicitors at the moment.
Yeah.
And we come back to you on that.
Perfect, yeah.
But if you want, I mean, we can sort out a few no parking signs, because if it's churning up the grass, it's churning up the wreck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we all happy to do that? Douglas,
Yeah,
are you
I
happy
think
to do that?
yeah,
are you,
we need
are you
to-
happy
It's,
to do
it's
that?
only going to get worse, especially when they build all those houses in Barrington.
Well, that's fine. So if we start there, because that's not going to cost a lot, and get those put up,
Thank you.
and then we'll come back to you.
That's great.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's really
Well, how big? Well, I don't know. How big are no parking signs? And what will the consequences be if you do park there?
Yeah, who's going to monitor it though?
Well, we can go.
I think, do we need to have no... Sorry, can we just... Sorry, do we need to have no parking signs or keep clear, or what do we need? I mean, what do you... Strictly no parking?
You can say that, but is it enforceable?
There's loads of options.
Yeah,
If you
website.
park here, we'll set a tiger on you?
A chain,
Yeah?
Find something.
concrete bollards.
You will be eaten. Go any further, you'll be eaten.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll look into it, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
People don't always take notice of notices, do they?
No, they don't take notice of
What
notices.
about putting them on a
We got one at the
spike
front.
and putting them
Nobody
on the
did.
grass where
I
people
think that's what you
park?
have to do, actually, literally
Yeah.
put them where they're parking
So
to
they
stop
can't
it.
park there unless
Yeah.
they're not
Concrete
mobile.
bollards, yeah.
Okay, we'll look into it. Is that okay, Rebecca?
That's great. Yeah,
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, no,
And then we'll come back to you. Okay, fine. Okay, 684, request for donations for the parochial church council. This is £500 towards the grass cutting that we do every year. Did we not do it last year?
No, we didn't.
We missed it last year. Did we do it?
150
No,
grand.
we gave them 500.
It's a lot of grass cutting.
October 2014.
Okay.
They've always had.
They've always had it. Do I have a proposer to give them that? Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
And those in favour? Okay, you'll deal with that. Okay, correspondence for information only. Maria, have you got any correspondence?
I had an email from an organisation about a potential residential development, but hopefully they're going to attend a meeting either next month or the month after. I don't know anything more. But I said, if you've got anything to
They
say?
basically, just so everybody knows, they were talking about wanting to meet the parish council.
Yeah.
We said we only will meet in public. They wanted to meet us, I think.
They don't know.
Well, I don't think they knew. But we've invited them to come along.
How many houses?
No, nothing at all. But we've invited them to come along and talk to us. Okay, fine. Right. Sorry.
While you're out of the room, Susan asked if it's possible that we sort of write to county council or councillors about 2% on social.
About 2% on social.
I mean, if you want to say that,
But ultimately, there's a financial implication.
I'll send you the
Yes.
Corner Parkinson's letter.
But-
We can look at that.
There was only one.
Yeah. Oh, that
We'll do that.
We might have to vote. I'm not sure if we have to vote because there's a financial implication of
What, do you want to take
By
that?
asking for doing that, is that
It's
right?
not for
No,
you.
not for us.
Not for us?
County
Is that-
council.
Not for us. So
Yeah.
it's
Tell me
fine.
how to
Yeah.
Susan will have to send stuff. I've got it here on Tuesday.
Okay, fine, no problem, we'll do that. Invitation to the members of the public for anything on the agenda next month? Nope. Okay, Cyril?
I'm fine.
Richard?
Said my bit.
No, nothing.
Sorry. Mr. Brackenbrough?
Have you emphasised that if anybody else wants to go to co-option, this man not necessarily got the job yet?
Absolutely. Yeah, so anybody else wants to go to co-option, co-option will take place next month?
Should,
Absolutely.
bring
If you'd
forward
like
their
to go
name.
to the parish councillor, you can have more than one volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We
We've only
want
got one
people.
lady so far.
So people, young people with ideas, are what we want.
Yeah.
So put yourself forward.
I'll withdraw my thing then because I haven't got any ideas.
I think you've got. I think you do yourself a disjustice, young man.
Well, you had that idea of becoming a councillor.
Okay, Douglas, anything else?
No.
Okay, nothing from me. Thank you very much. 9 o'clock, meeting closed. Thank you for attending.